Hello and welcome to How to Get the Most Out of This program. My name is Coach Peter with Breadcaster Fitness, and today we're going to talk about changing your behavior to become a healthier person. And this is how we're going to be able to sustain your results once you end up getting to your goals, or whether you decide to leave the program before you get your goals. The ultimate goal is to actually stay there. Now, again, my name is Coach Peter of Breadcaster Fitness. And I've been in the industry for over 12 years. And that being said, I have helped over 250 individuals. And I've been very lucky to stay in the field of kinesiology. I have a Bachelor of Science and a nutrition minor. Now, on the right, you could see three different stages of my, let's just say, fitness journey. There was a time where I was overweight for my height and extremely strong. There was a time where I had, let's just say, an overall fit body where I could do a little bit of everything. I was strong, I was flexible, I had some endurance, but I looked good in clothes. Now, the last picture on the very right, this is where I was at my most fit point, where my abs were rock solid, my body fat was less than 10. I looked great at the beach. However, my workouts were extremely long and intense, and that did take away from my sleep. So, to each their own, right? There are certain lifestyles that people will enjoy more. For me, at that point in my life, I decided that it was fun, but I wanted to carry on other things. I wanted to do other things in my life, so that's why I'm actually in between the third and the fourth picture. But yeah, anyways, let's not talk about me. The main purpose of this video is to talk about how to make these shifts. Obviously, you don't want to be in a position where you feel like you're stuck in one body forever. And the reason why I'm showing you this picture and I'm rambling on about these pictures on the right is because I've been very lucky to be able to shift into many types of bodies just based on my mindset. And that's what I want to share with you today. Everyone has the ability to actually change. Now, it's a matter of making that connection with yourself, saying, am I going to actually change my behaviors? A lot of people are looking for different results by doing the same actions. For example, your coach might suggest that, hey, you might want to start eating this, you might want to start doing this with your workout, but subconsciously you might respond, that's not me. I don't like eating that type of food. Give me something else that I'll like. And then you want your coach to construct a program where you'll already like it, but at the same time, it's something that you've already done in the past. And that might be something that might actually stop you from getting results. It's having let's just say, being a picky eater, but rather being a person who is really picky with whether they're going to do something based on, whether they think they're going to succeed or not, or whether they actually like it or not. Now, your ultimate goal is to get to the results, get your results that you wanted at the very beginning of the program. So we're going to talk about how to shift your mindset so that you can easily shift into the person that gets these results. And in order to do that, we're going to let's just say we're going to use an analogy. Your fitness journey is like a road trip. And then we're going to talk about the 5 stages of change of behavior. Now, there's actually 6, but we don't talk about the 6th one because the 6th stage is relapse. And that means that you're going to go back to the person that you were coming into the program. And that's not what we want. We want you to shift into a new person who stays at their goals. Okay. And the 3rd subject is called the competence model. That's essentially competence, meaning that you're doing the right actions. And this is a model of mainly being conscious of whether your actions are serving you or not. Now, the last piece is how to get the most out of this program. These are just little tips about how to stay open-minded and how to become that person who is constantly shifting so that you're not hitting your plateaus. Okay, so let's talk about how your fitness journey is like a road trip. So when you start your road trip, so forget about fitness for a second. Let's just talk about a road trip. Let's just imagine that you're taking a road trip from California to New York. And you have to consider, are you going to be able to go there if you're not really, let's just say, set in stone on being committed, right? If we have a conversation, let's just say we're out at the park and we just start making, hypothetical dreams. Hey, it'd be nice to go to New York City. Would you actually go if you're not seriously committed to taking that road trip? It's nice to talk about, but if you're not really serious about it, you're not going to end up driving there. You're not going to end up going there because it's just something that you wanted to talk about. Likewise, with your fitness goals, it'd be nice to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds, gain 20 pounds of muscle, get to a point where you're 18 to 20% body fat. If you're a female and maybe you want to get abs, get to 10% if you're a male. These are great goals to talk about, especially during New Year's Eve. But the question is, are you seriously committed to actually trying and going through the hard trip? Even when it gets hard, are you still committed to overcome yourself, especially when it gets challenging? That's what we mean when you're setting the destination on your GPS. When you actually put your destination on the GPS, you're thinking about how long is it going to take. So when you, let's just say, talk about your fitness goals, you're also considering, okay, if I'm losing, my goal is to lose 20 pounds, how long would that take me? By the book, it should take you, anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds per week. So it might take you anywhere from 10 to 20 weeks. And that's something that we have to consider because sometimes you might come into the program with unrealistic expectations and you say, I want to lose 5 pounds per week. First of all, that's really unhealthy for you and it can actually cause you to have heart issues. And is weight loss more important than being healthy? So that's something that we have to consider because in order for you to actually enjoy your goals, you have to be healthy first, right? So always consider what is the healthy numbers in order for me to get to my goals without causing damage. So the second question is, how long will your road trip take you under safe road conditions? So when you put go on your phone and then you type in, I want to go from California to New York City, they give you a certain timeline. Let's just say it takes you about 4 days. Now that's 4 days if you were to just drive straight without taking any gas breaks, without stopping for food, without going to any washroom breaks, without sleeping at night to recharge. This is just based on you were to drive straight under the perfect conditions where there's no traffic. Now, is that the reality of how you're actually going to get there on a road trip? Probably not, right? And fitness is no different. We have these expectations going into the fitness journey because we're super excited. We're super motivated at the very beginning. But you got to remember that this isn't a 3-hour journey, right? This is going to take a lot of time because it took you a lot of time to get to the position that you were going into this program. There's a lot of behaviors that you're not conscious of. There's a lot of damage. There's a lot of toxins in your body coming from the junk food that you might have eaten. So there's a lot of healing that has to happen and your organs might not be performing at the highest rate because of this damage. So being patient with the process is actually the fastest way of getting to your goals, right? So if you understand that it's not going to take it's not going to be a one-shot type of journey, and it's going to be a journey where you're going to have to make pit stops, you might as well enjoy it. And that's why we're going to talk about, being on a road trip. You might as well make your whole journey enjoyable. So let's just say, again, if you're starting from California going to New York City, instead of just gunning it and just going in one shot, you might want to stop in Houston, Texas. You might want to take another stop in Florida, Miami, and you might take an extra day because you're spending a couple hours there, but those are travel destinations anyways. You might as well enjoy your time, eat good barbecue, sit on the beach and just get a nice tan before you head to New York City. If you look forward to these milestones, then eventually you're just going to forget that you were even on this road trip. You're just going to be thinking about this massive trip that you've done in this massive journey, and you're going to have all these memories associated with it. So how does that relate to fitness? If your goal is to go from 200 pounds to 140 pounds, if you're losing 60 pounds, you might as well celebrate every 5 to 10 pounds lost. And the reason why you want to do this is because you want to remind yourself that you're making the right change. That's why you want to be happy every time you succeed. Because there's another type of person who has delayed gratification. And this is a person who says, well, I'm not going to let myself be happy until I get to my goals. But often this person is depressed. Often this person is feeling, let's just say, they're feeling drained all day. They're tired, they're unhappy, and then they're always, let's just say, negative about their results. They're negative about their ability to exercise. And because of this, they're producing toxic hormones. They're producing a lot of anger and depression hormones. And that in itself is the reason why they're not seeing results. It's because they're not energized to take more action than they did yesterday, than they did last week. So what also happens is eventually when they get to their goal, if they get to their goal, they're going to try to be happy, but they're just so used to being sad that they can't be happy. So what happens is their brain starts to think, well, happiness is not here. Happiness is actually in the past where I had a lot of freedom. And by freedom, they mean where they didn't think about the negative repercussions to eating junk food and not moving, and also a lot of the other behaviors that might have caused them to gain weight. That's what they consider freedom. And then what happens is that if you think that happiness is in the past, you're going to go back to the behaviors that brought you that happiness. And that's why people end up going back into their old body where they had a lot of weight, or where they were underweight in muscle. So that's why you always want to be in a position where you're happy when you're making great changes. Okay. So yeah, don't wait for yourself to be happy when you're making good changes. Okay. Always celebrate your wins, even if it's a pound or two. Okay. So the one thing that you want to understand is during your journey, you might not be seeing the rate of change that you might have projected at the very beginning. And that's just like saying when you're driving on this road trip, your Google Maps might say, hey, it's going to take you 4 days to get from California to New York City. But that's under the assumption that there's no traffic. It's under the assumption that, there's going to be no roadblocks. Everything is going to be perfectly fine. And likewise, with your fitness journey, you're assuming that your body is just fresh. There's no injuries. There's no toxins in your body. You have no stress. Your sleep is great. You have no family issues. You have no relationship issues, no work issues. We're assuming that everything is smooth sailing. Is that the reality for most people? Probably not. And that's probably why you might actually take longer than what you've projected. So being conscious that it may take longer will save you a lot of stress, okay? Because the more you focus on controlling the stress, the more you're going to feel tense and anxious, and then you're going to start to have junk food cravings. This is how our body works, okay? When you feel a lot of anxiety, essentially your digestion speeds up, and then we start thinking about, oh, I'm lacking energy. And if we think you're lacking energy, guess what? You're going to want to feed yourself energy. And this is why we want to have sugar. This is why we're going to want to have salt and also a lot of oil, fat. So this is why French fries taste amazing when you're stressed. Chips, also cookies, anything that has salt, fat, or sugar typically comes to mitigate your stress, right? So if you understand that this is all about stress that's causing us to intake more calories, well, you'll focus on minimizing your stress. And this is what's going to actually get you in that calorie deficit. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about before we move on is if you decide to stop your road trip halfway, would you be staying there? All right. And we're going to bring this back to the fitness context first so that it makes sense. So a lot of people, let's just say they're halfway through their journey, or maybe they're at some point earlier, and they start to lose motivation. And they say, hey, I'm just going to do what I used to do. I'm just going to start going back to the way I used to. And I hope that I'm just going to stay with the results that I got. Because, the goals that I set earlier, they're too ambitious. They're too hard, probably unrealistic for me. I'm just going to settle. Well, let's go back to the road trip side of the conversation. So if you decide to go a quarter way into your trip from San Francisco up until Houston, and you decide that going to New York City is too hard, you're basically saying, I'm just going to stay in Houston, Texas, because it's too hard to get to Florida. And it's also too hard to go back to San Francisco. So that's the assumption. The assumption is that you're going to stay where you are. But in reality, where's all your stuff? All your stuff is in San Francisco. So essentially, you have to go back to San Francisco. You're not going to stay in Houston, Texas. All your stuff is back there. So likewise, with your fitness goals, you might think that you want to stay. Let's just say you went from 200 to 180 pounds. You might think that you want to stay at 180 pounds. But the reality is that your behaviors are actually in 200 pounds because you haven't been there long enough. It was the shifts, the changes that you are making towards 140 pounds that actually got you to 180 pounds. So it's that new behavior that got you to stay at 180 pounds. So if you decide, hey, I'm at 180 pounds, but this is getting too hard, you're going to go back to what you used to know, which is the behavior that kept you at 200 pounds. So this is why a lot of people aren't seeing results. And if you're not seeing results, it's because you haven't shifted your behavior. You're also justifying why it's so hard to change. And that's the reason why it's so hard to lose that weight. If you haven't changed much since you started this program, well, that's the reason why you're staying at your weight. The more changes you make to your behavior, the more changes you're going to see on the scale and also in the mirror, right? So it's all about behavior change. So let's talk about the 5 stages of behavior. The first stage is called pre-contemplation. So pre-contemplation is a stage where, here, let me just give you some physical results. It's not even on my mind to consider change. I'm not open to hearing your suggestions. I'm going to stick with what I know. And essentially, all of these type of thoughts are related to, I am not ready, or I'm not interested in hearing your suggestions. I'm going to make substitutions that fit for me, that I like, and that I think that I'm going to even try. Okay, so basically you're saying, if you're in a pre-contemplation stage, you're using what you already know. And if you're using what you already know, then you're going to produce results that are already in the past. So if you're a person who's overweight and you're looking to lose weight, but you're using behaviors from the past where you were overweight, well, guess what? You're going to stay overweight because those are behaviors carried from the past. In order for you to lose weight, then you need to change your behaviors that you've never done before. And that's when you start to realize you have to contemplate, okay, I've been thinking about change, but I don't know. I don't know what I need to do. And that's why I'm not sure. I need more clarity because I'm afraid of wasting my time. And that's okay. It's okay to feel this way. A lot of people come into this program thinking this way. It's because you don't want to make a mistake that might actually make you, like, losing time is probably the worst of your problems, is the least of your problems, excuse me. But getting injured or getting sick, that's probably one of the things we're mainly afraid of. We don't want to get into a worse position. But the truth of the matter is, as long as you're doing things that are healthier, eating healthier foods and moving better, well, you're bound to be healthier. So that's when we start to get into the preparation phase. It's about getting organized so that you can cruise smoothly. So on our spreadsheet on the top right, there's a preparation section. Now that's related to nutrition, meaning that, hey, if I prepare my veggies before I cook it on the stove, the food inside the stove, excuse me, the pan is not going to burn. All right. So let's just take a cooking scenario. If you end up trying to make a stir fry, but you're cooking you're cutting your veggies and your meats while the oil is in the pan, well, you're going to burn what's inside the pan. But if you end up preparing all the veggies and meat beforehand, and then once you have everything prepared, then you turn on the stove, you'll be able to cook a lot more effectively and deliciously. So it's the same thing with fitness. Having that time set aside for yourself, making sure that you already know what you need to do in the day for you to get results is the fastest way of getting results. A lot of people will say, I have work, I have family. And while all those things are very important and those are things are viable, how can you help another person if you can't even help yourself? And can you help people to the best of your ability if you don't have the best energy? So that's why if you're someone who has a lot of, let's just say, responsibilities, you might want to wake up earlier just so that you can get the things that you need to do done. And then that way, you're already finished with the behaviors that are needed to get to your goals. And then you can start helping people. And then by that time, you'll realize, I'm super tired. I don't have the energy to help you. And you might not be able to help the people that you used to in the past that ended up taking from your health, right? So that's preparation. Action is actually practicing what you need to do in order to get to your goals, okay? So when I say action, I'm talking about practice. And practice is very important to understand because you need to realize that masters don't become masters because they tried it once. It's because they failed more than what the student has tried. So you have to keep trying. If it's not working, okay, try again. If that's not working, okay, try something else. Keep trying until your body responds to the way you want. I have a few clients who ended up, let's just say, they spent their first 6 weeks. They're seeing body composition. So they're seeing their waistline go down, their body fat's going down, their muscle tone is getting up, but they're not seeing the changes on the scale. So we kept trying to make shifts every biweekly call. And now they're starting to see 5 pounds of weight loss in the last 2 weeks. She never gave up. And that's the reason why she's seeing results. And then you have other people who end up quitting because they're not seeing results within their first 2 weeks. So if you really want to get to your goals until the day you die, you're going to keep becoming healthier and healthier. In order for you to understand exactly how to get to your goals, you have to get there first. So if you're not spending at least 10,000 hours onto your fitness goals, then it's going to be really hard for you to understand, okay, what is going to create change for yourself, okay? So once you get to your goals, this is called the maintenance stage. Maintenance becomes easier when you stay in your routine for at least 6 months or more, okay? So when you stay in your goals for at least 6 months or more, that means that your behavior has shifted and you don't have feelings of going back. Now, when you're a changed person with elevated values, this is when you actually stay at your goals. So how do you change? This is called the competence model. So competence deals with whether you're doing it right or not. Consciousness has to do with your attention. So the first stage is called unconscious incompetence, meaning I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm not aware of what I'm doing wrong. And that's okay. That's where most people are at. That's where I'm at for a lot of things when I'm comparing myself to my coaches. So whenever you're learning a new skill or behavior, you're always going to be in a person where you don't know until someone tells you or until something happens. So once you become conscious, then you can start to change. If you're not conscious, you will never change. But once you can become conscious, then you have the ability to change. So now step 2 is I am becoming aware of what I'm doing wrong, or I have become aware of what I'm doing wrong. This is when you can finally change because you know what you were doing in the past was the wrong behavior. Now, changing and seeing your results is all in stage number 3, competence. Competence is where you're taking the right action. But the problem is things take time for you to see change. So even though you might be doing the right action, there's a lot going on inside your body. There's a lot of healing going on. There's a lot of recovering, or there's a lot of stress management that's going on. So sometimes you might be taking the right action, but you might not be taking the right recovery approach. You might have the right calories. You might have the right nutrition. You might have the right workouts. But if you're not dealing with the stress that's causing you to produce stress hormones, if you're not sleeping very well, you're not going to be seeing good results. So competence takes time. Even if you're taking the right action, you have to see that there's not just one factor into getting your results. You have to find out all of the factors. Okay. And this is what it means to go from unconscious to conscious competence, unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence. It's not just nutrition that you have to pay attention to. There's sleep, there's stress management, there's preparation, everything that is on the top right side of your corner. That is something that you're going to be mastering over time. Okay, so in order for you to genuinely shift into the person who stays at the results, you want to be someone who's not really thinking about this. So if we compare, let's say myself to the person I was 12 years ago, at this point in time, I don't really have to think about counting my calories. Even though I do just once in a while, just to make sure that I'm on track. At this point, I can just look at food. And Brett was talking about this on yesterday's call. I can look at food and I'll have an understanding of how many calories are in there based on the weight, based on the size, because I've seen it so much over time. So I've counted calories for over 4 years in my past, consistently every single day. And because of that, I know, okay, this much rice will produce this much yield of carbs and it'll produce this much calories. Okay. So likewise, until you put in those reps, it's going to be conscious, meaning you have to place attention on it. Once you do it over and over and over again, you're going to get to a position where you just know without you having to actually do the work. And that's when you become unconsciously competent. Okay, meaning you're doing the right action, but you don't have to use energy from your attention. So again, this takes 10,000 hours of precise action. Okay, so I'm going to use this quote again that I used like a few minutes ago. The master has failed more than the student has tried. So if you are comparing yourself and you're like, I wish I was like my coach, or I wish I was as good as this person, just remember there were a lot more hours spent that got us to this point where we don't have to stress over this anymore. And as long as you keep practicing, you will get to this position where you're just like us. Okay, so finally, how to get the most out of this program. The ultimate goal is to have an open mind to every possibility that is holding you back. And then what could shift you into getting results? So what's going to get you results is what you haven't tried before. Okay. What you've tried before, if it was working, then you'd be doing it right now. But there's a reason why you're not getting the results, because what you've tried in the past may not work. Okay, so you have to let it go and you have to shift into the next action. The more you can move on from old behaviors, the faster you're going to get results. The scale might not exactly reflect what's happening in the mirror. And that's very important to understand, because I have a lot of clients who are actually seeing really, really great body composition. But because the scale isn't going down, they're feeling sad, right? And the thing that you have to understand is, what is that number based on? The number that you might have projected, it's based on you losing weight, right? It's based on you losing, I say weight, I'm going to say weight again. Weight could be bone, weight could be muscle, weight could be body fat, weight could be water, weight could be anything. So as long as you're losing weight, you're going to feel happy. But the problem is, if you lose muscle, if you lose bone mass, but the scale is going down, is that the right reason to be happy? And now the scale may go up. Okay, but If you gain body fat, you can understand why you may not be happy. But if you're gaining muscle, you're gaining bone density, you're gaining muscle glycogen, you're gaining water. If you're looking better in the mirror and your metabolism is going up, is that a reason to be sad just because the scale is going up? So over the long run, you want to see weight loss. But if you see yourself gain weight, maybe in a day or in a week, check the mirror, check the pictures from your baseline and check the pictures of your most recent progression pictures, because you want to understand what's shifting here. Because this is the reason why you joined the program. You joined the program because you want to look good in social settings. You want to look great in your favorite clothes, and you want to be happy when you look in the mirror. Okay, it's not, the scale isn't the reason why you joined this program. It's about what the scale might, what it might reflect. Okay, which is again, how your eyes see yourself. Okay, so the ultimate goal is to be happy about how you think and how you feel. Okay, so your ultimate goal is improved body composition, which is lower body fat and increased muscle tone. It's improved vitality. It's improved self-esteem and confidence. But this will eventually end up causing you to lose weight, becoming a healthier person overall. Okay, so again, while you may not lose weight every single day, and some days you might actually go up, you have to understand the big picture, meaning when I started this journey, this was my condition of my health, and this is what my body composition was at. And then this is where I'm at now. And as I'm starting to continue shifts, I will continue to make changes so that it reflects what I truly want. Okay, so remember, it's about changing your behaviors. So you have to really be conscious of what your routine is and what's keeping you at your baseline weight. So if you continue to, let's just say, be defensive over every suggestion that your coach gives you, remember that you're defending why you should stay the same person. And if you stay the same person behaviorally, then it's the behavior that leads to the body composition. Okay, so as long as you're conscious of that, you're going to make physical changes that are going to better your results. Okay, so again, you have to shift. If you have an off day, okay, it happens. But if you continue to have off days and you continue to buy out food and you continue to have days where you're 1,000 to 1,500 calories over your goal because you're having a bad day and you keep justifying it, well, you better understand 2 weeks from now when your coach asks you, hey, how are you feeling with your progression? You can't go back and say, I'm not happy with my results, okay? Well, it's because you've justified why you ate those extra 500 calories. You've justified why you haven't made those shift to eat more vegetables. If you're going to justify it, then you better understand later in the future, you cannot go back on it and say, hey, why am I not seeing results? Well, it's because you've defended why you can't change. All right. So again, if you want to see great results, you have to be very open-minded to shifting into a different behavior. Okay. You have to be a different person leaving this program with healthier habits. So remember that we're here for you and we're here because of you. So we don't win unless you win. So we're on your side. We're making suggestions based on the suggestions that we've made for successful clients. And we want you to keep changing until you find a routine for yourself. Every person coming into this program, while they might have similar goals and while they might use similar ways of losing weight, everybody has a different baseline. Everyone has a different health history. So that is why you have to continue to find out what is working for you. Okay, chicken and broccoli might not work for everybody, but might work for some. So that's why we can't give you the exact same advice over and over. We're going to find out what works for you, but you have to try. You have to keep shifting. All right, so that's how to get the most out of this program. I hope this really helps. Be as open-minded as possible and continue to forgive yourself if you're not seeing results, because you will eventually, as long as you keep trying. Okay, so have yourself a wonderful day and continue to make positive changes.